Caterpillar wheel loader operating tips and instructions. The tape is divided into 8 segments for easy viewing. Safety, the walk-around inspection, the operator's compartment and startup, setting the variable capacity torque converter, loading the bucket, truck loading, load and carry, and shutting the machine down. We need to remind you that this tape is not intended to replace the machine operator's manual, so read it thoroughly for additional information on maintenance and operating practices. Before we talk about the machine and how it works, let's address one of the most important aspects of running any machine: safety. Most accidents involving machine operation are caused by failure to observe basic safety rules and precautions. And as an operator, you must be alert for potential hazards. An accident can often be avoided by recognizing these potentially hazardous situations before an accident occurs. Before you operate any machine, you should read and understand the safety and operating information provided in the Operation and Maintenance Manual. Safety precautions and warnings are provided in the manual and at various locations on the machine. Be sure to identify and understand these symbols before you start the machine. Every possible circumstance that might involve a potential hazard cannot be anticipated. The warnings in the operator's manual and on the machine are therefore not all-inclusive. If a tool, procedure, work method, or operating technique not specifically recommended by Caterpillar is used, you must be satisfied that it is safe for you and others. Before climbing into the machine, do a complete visual walk-around. Examine tires for cuts, proper air pressure, and loose lug nuts. Be sure and check for loose pins, adapters, and teeth. Inspect the high wear areas. Check all fluid levels and look for leaks, both on the machine and on the ground. And look for the buildup of fine dust particles that could be blocking the radiator, which might cause overheating. Before you enter the cab, locate and turn on the main electrical disconnect switch. Be sure and report anything wrong or unusual. If everything looks good, go ahead and climb in the cab. And it's very important when you climb on the machine to keep 3 points of contact at all times. Clean the windows and mirrors for good visibility. Adjust the seat and steering wheel and buckle the seat belt. Before starting the engine, look around the cab. You're going to spend a lot of time here, so keep it neat and tidy. To the left of the steering wheel is the single lever transmission control for gear selection and directional changes. The middle position is neutral. The transmission lever should be in neutral and the parking brake on before you start the machine. Now, to move the machine forward, push the lever away from you and pull it toward you for reverse. For speed selection, simply twist the grip to the desired gear for on-the-go shifting. On your right are the bucket controls and the main control lever for the variable capacity torque converter. The left lever dumps and curls the bucket. Next to it is the hoist lever that raises and lowers the hoist arms. The switch at the top of the hoist lever is used with the main control lever for the variable capacity torque converter, located on the far right. The VCTC is found on the 988B and the 992C and helps reduce tire wear by controlling tire slippage. It gives you fingertip control of the power to your wheels based on underfoot conditions. On the floor, there are 3 pedals. On the right, the accelerator. Next to it, the brake pedal. On the far left, the combination trans-neutralizer and brake pedal. The brake pedal should be used in all roading and other braking situations, particularly on downhill load and carry where it's important to keep the machine in gear to assist in slowing the machine down. The transmission neutralizer pedal should be used when loading trucks to soften the direction changes between shifts. When partially depressed, it disengages the transmission to neutral. When fully depressed, the brakes are also applied. Take a little time to get familiar with the controls. Before starting the engine, check the electronic monitoring system. To do this, turn the key about a quarter turn to the right to the on position. Directly under the EMS panel is a toggle switch. Lift it up and hold it. All the lights on the EMS panel should come on. If they don't, refer to the operator's manual for further instructions. The EMS provides 3 levels of warning. Now, at first level, only the panel fault indicator will flash. This level of warning requires operator awareness. This may include low fuel or the start of an overheating problem, and you might have to change how you're operating the machine at the time. At the second level of warning, the panel fault light will come on as well as the flashing red warning light. Now, this indicates that continued operation could lead to component failure. Immediately move the machine to a safe area, properly shut it down, and report the problem. At the third level of warning, the panel light is on, the red warning light is flashing, and in addition, an audible alarm is sounded. Further operation will cause immediate component failure. Once again, bring the machine to a safe stop, shut it off, and report the problem. Once the EMS lights are working properly, start the engine by turning the key all the way to the right. Before you put the machine to work, check the brakes for proper operation before you need them. And it's important not to strain a cold machine. Operate the implement controls to warm the hydraulic oil. Remember, in cold weather, it's going to take you even longer, so take the time. Now you're ready to go to the load area. One of the most important things to remember is keep the area clean and smooth. This contributes to efficient loading, steady cycles, and it also reduces wear and damage to tires. As stated earlier, one of the most important features on large Caterpillar wheel loaders is the variable capacity torque converter, or the VCTC. It allows you to preset the desired rim pull in any condition to reduce tire spin. Located in the cab, there are 3 things related to the VCTC: the main control lever, the rocker switch on top of the hoist control, and the green light located on the dash. Now, when the green light is off, rim pull is then set to the position of the main control lever. This could be a light or heavy setting depending on the underfoot conditions. When the green light is on, the VCTC is in maximum torque regardless of the position of the main control lever. To set the VCTC, flip the rocker switch control to off. The green indicator light is now out. Pull the VCTC lever all the way back to the minimum position. Now penetrate the work face in first gear. As the bucket enters the face, gradually increase RPMs to high idle. As you do this, raise the bucket slightly to put weight on the front drive wheels. This increases traction. If you don't lift the bucket in this manner, you'll lose traction, causing the tires to slip, which can lead to tire cutting. Now, once you're in the face, steadily push the VCTC lever toward maximum and stop just before the tires begin to slip. Cycle the machine several times to determine if this setting is suitable. If not, or wheel slippage occurs, pull the VCTC all the way back to minimum and start the entire procedure over from the beginning. You may have to repeat this operation daily or as underfoot conditions change. Remember, tire slippage is costly to the operation. In addition, anytime you're roading the machine, the VCTC switch should be set so the green light is on. This gives you maximum rim pull and helps keep the torque converter from overheating. Also, it's very important that you never put the transmission control lever in neutral while you're operating the machine. On downhill grades, select the proper gear to control your speed without excessive braking. Now let's review setting the VCTC. Place the rocker switch in the off position. The green light will go off. Pull the VCTC lever to minimum. Penetrate the face in first gear, building the RPMs to high idle. Transfer weight to the front axle by lifting the bucket with the hoist lever. Push the VCTC lever forward and stop just before the tires begin to slip. Cycle the machine several times to see if the setting is suitable. If it isn't, repeat the entire procedure from the start. When loading the bucket, there are several functions that happen almost simultaneously. For now, let's concentrate on the bucket, the hoist control, and the bucket control levers. The three most important things to remember when loading the bucket is good initial penetration, lifting the bucket slightly, and keeping weight on the front tires. When loading, penetrate the material with the bucket square to the face for an even load distribution. Do not corner load the bucket. Corner loading affects your production and puts unnecessary stress on the lift arms. Also, do not enter the pile while articulated. The loader should be in a straight line as the bucket enters the face. This puts lower stress loads on the articulation joint and extends its life. After the bucket has entered the face and is slightly off the floor, lock in the hoist lever and curl the bucket through the face until it is totally filled. Remember, the best loading is at the toe of the slope, not part way up. It's important to keep weight on the tires during the entire cycle to keep them from losing traction. As a rule, the bucket should be full before the hoist arms reach a horizontal position. Be careful not to over-rack the bucket. This can also cause the tires to slip. Now, before you leave the face, nudge the bucket control to shake off any excess hanging material. Also, to avoid what's called slot loading, work an area at least 1.5 to 2 buckets wide. You'll find the extra room makes loading easier, and it reduces the chance of rocks cutting tire sidewalls. When you encounter a large rock in the face, work around it until you can remove it. Don't try to dislodge it by burying the bucket and fanning the rear of the machine back and forth in midair. This may cause excessive wear at the articulation joint and damage at the rear axle. Again, work around large rocks. Work them down the pile and get rid of them. To avoid additional tire failures, keep the loader flat on the floor. Don't climb or comb the face or drag the face down with the bucket edge. Again, remember to use high RPMs when loading to prevent the engine from lugging. Also, use that transneutralizer pedal to soften the shock between direction changes. When you're working in materials that are difficult to load, don't fight it. Load what you can and get out. It's easier on you and the machine to go for lighter loads, faster cycles, and the extra pass. That's called optimum loading. But with the easy loading material, optimum loading is accomplished by doing just the opposite. Full buckets and one less pass. If ruts happen to form, ride on top of the ridges to flatten out the surface. Again, it's easier on you and the machine. Now let's review the major points about bucket loading. Penetrate the pile while the loader is square to the face. Avoid corner loading. Use moderate to high RPMs to prevent engine lugging. Lift the bucket slightly upon penetration, keeping weight on the front tires. Curl the bucket to finish the load. And lastly, nudge the bucket controls to shake off any hanging material at the toe of the pile and not on the floor. Like bucket loading, there are other key things to remember involving the hauling unit. Let's now concentrate on the loading target and how it affects your moves. Remember, the truck operators key off your position, so be ready for them when they enter the work area. And always spot the truck with a full bucket. The truck will back under your bucket, so position yourself so that the truck is close to the pile and at the correct angle. The side rail of the truck should come directly under the lower bucket hinge pins. This tight V position is perfect for loading and dumping. You should now be able to load the truck with no more than 1.5 to 2 tire revolutions in each direction, which is just right for loading trucks. Sometimes a stripe on the tire makes it easier to determine how many turns the tires are taking. When you're dumping the first bucket, keep the hoist arms low and roll the bucket into the truck softly. This also helps reduce damage to the truck body, and it will certainly keep the operator happy. As the truck body fills, it may take a little more time to dump that last pass. Shake or feather the bucket to avoid any carryback. After you've dumped the bucket, use the transmission neutralizer pedal to shift the transmission to neutral, then shift to reverse. As you're moving away from the truck, roll the bucket back into the digging position by pulling the bucket lever back into detent. Once you've cleared the side of the truck, lower the hoist arms and get ready for the next pass. Use the transmission neutralizer pedal again at this direction change. By now, the bucket will have leveled itself as you travel toward the face. Take a good look at your load on each pass. The ideal truck load should taper from the front to the rear and should be balanced and centered within the bed. And avoid loading heavy over the rear axle of the truck. To get this ideal load, dump your final pass in any void behind the canopy. To do this, you simply articulate the machine toward the canopy and raise the hoist arms. Now this will give your load a professional look, and it'll be well balanced in the truck. If the hauling fleet starts stacking up on you, as it can right after lunch, you may want to short load a truck by making one less pass and moving him out sooner. But only do this when things are really congested. The goal is to get them moving and balance the fleet between the dump and the load area. And with that, we've covered truck loading. Now let's look at an application that's becoming more popular for all wheel loaders, load and carry. Many quarries use portable crushers that are operated near the loading site. Just as in loading trucks, certain techniques plus common sense in your load and carry application will make your work easier, more efficient, and safe. As stated earlier, the brake pedal should be used in load and carry applications to slow the machine. In these conditions, the transmission stays in gear and assists in braking the loader. If you can, keep the carry 300 feet or less. The haul road is now your work area, so keep it level, smooth, and dust-free. One item that is unique to load and carry is tire overheating due to tire flexing and the higher speeds involved. To compensate, you may have to adjust your travel speeds and your hauling distances. In other words, mix your gear selection and travel distance between short and long carries to maximize tire life. The same loading techniques apply to load and carry as in truck loading, with one exception. After the bucket is loaded, the VCTC switch should be switched to the maximum setting for high rim pull and speeds. Once you're on the haul road, carry the bucket low and close to the frame to transfer as much of that weight as possible to the rear axle. It's safer, and it makes for a smooth ride. Always keep a steady flow of material to the crusher to avoid any unnecessary wait time. Meter it. Well, find a balance and avoid jamming the crusher. Again, it may help to combine short and long hauls. On the short hauls, it may be easier to carry the load in reverse, making the directional change at the dump point. After dumping, clean up any spillage along the haul road. The 988B can be equipped with an optional lockup torque converter as a replacement for the VCTC. The lockup converter option makes the 988B even more aggressive when digging and provides the faster travel speeds. The rocker switch on top of the hoist control now selects the torque converter lockup mode or the standard mode. When the green light is on, the machine is in a lockup mode, or it's auto shifting into direct drive. When the light is out, it's in the standard torque converter mode. Now, it's recommended that you manually place the switch out of direct drive and into the standard mode when you're entering the face. However, once you're starting the haul, flip the switch into the direct drive setting. Again, you only use the standard mode for loading the bucket. It should also be noted that the 988B will automatically downshift to standard if you forget to or if you prefer. The 988B equipped with the lockup torque converter is more aggressive than the standard 988B. So more consideration should be given to tire slippage and tire overheating. Well, let's call it a day. Before you shut the machine down and do your final checks, make sure you've done your housekeeping chores. The floor should be level and smooth and drain away from the loading face. Be sure there are no holes to pocket rainwater. And as a rule, the load area should be left clean enough to drive your car over. Park the loader on level ground. Lower the bucket to the ground, put the transmission selector in neutral, and set the parking brake. Now let the machine idle for 4 or 5 minutes to cool the engine and turbos. This is a good time to do your reporting, paperwork, or just cleaning up the cab. Once it's cooled down, simply turn the key to shut off the machine, but don't gun it. This races the turbochargers and may cause damage to them. That's it. Remove the key from the ignition and lock the cab. Then turn off the main electrical disconnect switch and remove that key. Once again, when climbing down, remember to maintain 3 points of contact. Do a quick final check around the machine for leaks, cracks, or broken parts, and report anything unusual. It's often easy to overlook simple things no matter what you do. Get yourself into a daily routine and follow the tips outlined in this program. In addition, read the operator's manual that comes with each machine and follow all the safety tips. That's it. Drive home safely. We want you back tomorrow.